Hi guys, it's Jess. This is a fun little video. I just thought it'd be really fun to show off the first issue of White Dwarf which I ever bought, which is this one, issue 201. And yeah, this isn't my original copy of the magazine. This is one I've bought since. The old one got long ago battered and destroyed. Also the card sections got removed. So I thought it'd be really nice to get my hands on it again, which I did a few months back, or maybe a couple of years back even. Yeah, so I believe this was from 1996. It's really hard to remember, and I'm sure it'll tell me somewhere inside. But as you can see on the front here, you can see there's the squig hopper in front of a nice orcs and goblins, or rather just kind of knight goblins army. And you can see on the left there, they've got Orion King in the Woods, more on him later, Khan the Betrayer, Space Marine Bikes, Warhammer Quest, Nurgle campaign, plus modelling and more. There you go, so it's September, I believe it's September 96. So I've got the hiccups. On the back you got this cool picture, so it's Gene Stealers and Tyranids coming up on an Imperial Guard base. So you've got the really old Tyranid warriors there on the square bases. Gene Stealers I don't think look too different these days. I think they kept their design fairly consistent as far as I know, but I'm not hugely au fait with modern Tyranids. And yeah, let's have a quick look inside then. So there's a couple more nice little shots here. So you've got Tyranids and Guard again, and then you've got this kind of undead versus Empire diorama there. Then you've got a lovely picture here of the White Dwarf himself having just decapitated an orc, and some faces which may or may not be familiar depending on if you were in the hobby back then. We've got the contents page, this month's releases. So this month's big release was Orion the Wood Elf King, and yeah, so that was my first big metal model I ever bought. £12 as it was at the time, which was quite a lot of money. It was probably about a month's pocket money or more at the time, so it was quite the thing to get hold of. And you can see this is also around the time Warhammer got relaunched into the edition which I did an unboxing of a few years ago, because the following issue of White Dwarf had 2 free skinks or 2 free Bretonnian bowmen, depending on which was mounted to the cover that you happened to get hold of. So yeah, this is the issue after the 200th issue celebrations, so there they are eating cake. You got the release of the plastic Space Marine bikes, although the riders at this point were metal. And you had Khan the Betrayer released for the first time, along with Chaos Terminators, and that's pretty cool. Modelling workshop, there's a bit about what's on this month's cards, but we'll come to those. And a nice little page of showing off what you can get for the High Elves at the time, including the Chariot. A little bit of stuff about the Chaos Space Marines, the Legions of Darkness by Andy Chambers. He's well known for being a Chaos lover. So again, yeah, that's really cool. Stuff about the Imperial Guard tanks, and then the new armies, so Bretonnians and Lizardmen. They'd sort of existed before, but not as fully fledged armies with army books, so this was kind of when they were just coming in. So there's a nice little showcase here of the Bretonnians and of the Lizardmen. So some of these models look quite different now to what's currently available for these ranges, or well, in the case of Bretonnians there's nothing available, but the Lizardmen, obviously now they've even been rebranded to Seraphon, but you'd find that even the skinks and the basic warriors all look quite different now. An advert for Necromunda and the glorious terrain that you got in the box. Wonderful game. I'm still hoping they release it properly, although we've got something pretty close with Shadow War. It would be really nice to see Necromunda and the gangs return. Then you got a Warhammer 40k article about the bikes. So you got all these nice kind of colour schemes from the Heavy Metal team there. And a little bit about the rules. This is obviously 2nd edition 40k, so the rules are completely incomprehensible compared to what you'd see in a modern one. And then obviously with the new edition coming out, 8th edition coming out very soon, so yep, expect your current rules to look like gobbledygook to players in a couple of years as well. Games Day in Golden Demon 96 advert. can't remember if this is the one I went to or whether I went to 97. I think it was 97 I went to. Whichever one had the Dark Eldar and 3rd edition 40k released, that's the one I went to. So yeah, you got that classic 40k logo, of course, which I love that logo. I think that's so much nicer than the green one. But it is what it is. And then we've got Orion, the King in the Woods. So yeah, this model, I loved it. It was just so cool. I'm going to zoom in slightly, and I was really happy to get my hands on it. I didn't have a big Wood Elf army at all in the day. I think I had like 5 War Dancers or 6 War Dancers. I think there might have been 2 to a blister. Loads of the little plastic £5 box archers, and not a lot else really. I might have had a couple of Glade Riders. I don't think I had very much at all, because I didn't really have the money to, being 13 years old or so at the time. But, you know, it is what it is, and yeah, I got Orion and I painted him up, and I wish I still had that model as well. But it all got taken out in the purge of the late 90s. So yeah, there's a little bit of an article, the stats for Orion there. So he's 300 points, plus 50 points for each of his pieces of equipment, and the Hunting Hounds. Now, the Hunting Hounds didn't have models in there at the time. I don't know what people really did about the Hunting Hounds back then. I'm guessing people proxied something, but who knows what. If you know, let me down in the comments down below. I guess people might have even used non-Citadel miniatures back then and got away with it if they didn't make them. So yeah, then you got some campaign stuff and opening stores and all sorts going on. Modelling workshop. So this is a little bit better than the modern sprues and glue terrain stuff, because it is literally scratch built terrain. So you've got how you kind of get your polystyrene, you cover it in sand and PVA glue, and then you paint it. This thing here is actually made with the little plastic bits from blister packs, which is a really nice idea. That's pretty cool. And then you go into like putting parts from the Necromunda bulkheads in and all sorts. So that's a really nice thing. I'd love to see more scratch build terrain articles in White Dwarf again, but I don't think that's very likely, what with GW having to push their own products a little bit more. But it would be really cool to see. So then you've got the Retail Crusade, little article, Thundering Hooves. So this is all about cavalry and how to use cavalry, which is really nice. Then there's a bit of cards. So you've got Orion's items there. This is a Warhammer Quest event card, and that is a card for Space Marine bikes with all the stats on. Back when every unit, or at least every vehicle, had its own vehicle card. And then we've got a Space Hulk tile as well, like a deep engine room. That's pretty cool. I love that they used to do that. A little bit of Space Hulk content, including some missions on how to use that room. Bit more about Necromunda gangs, Born to Rune. So this is obviously something about the dwarves, not the Dwarden, the dwarves. Warhammer Quest heroes and expansion packs and stuff. And there's this little kind of battle report from Necromunda. It came from the sump, and it gave you rules for using like a chaos spawn, essentially, that's kind of been born out of the goo and the toxic chemicals and stuff in there. So that's pretty cool. So you've got this nice little bit there. Games Day in Golden Demon USA 96. So there's a nice little kind of report of the event there, and I think there might be some of the Golden Demon miniatures. Yes, there we go. So some classic minis here, painted quite nicely. I don't know if they do very well in modern Golden Demon, probably not, but they still look pretty good now. They're a lot more colourful than your modern Golden Demon entries. That one was always really nice. I don't know if you can see that, if I can zoom in. I always thought that was a very nice little diorama there. And then you've got, obviously, this is quite a famous one, I believe, but not quite as famous as the one that White Dwarf likes to feature. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Let's zoom back out. Then we've got something about orcs in 40k, war bosses, and stuff. Frontline news. So these were like reward cards you could get stamped when you bought certain kits, and you could get rewards for those, which was pretty awesome. I remember those. A little bit about the stores. Warhammer Quest. Some extra rules for Quest with the Nurgle campaign. Warhammer 40k, The Betrayer. So this is about Khan the Betrayer. Oh, and obviously epic there. So there's your original Khan the Betrayer model. 21 years old, that one. And there he is with his stats as well. 157 points and 217 including war gear. So if you wanted to pause the video and have a little read of that, there's that. You got the battle tour, and you got something about the Chaos Dwarves. In fact, this might even be a battle report. Yeah, it is. Cool. I was really happy to get hold of this magazine again. It was such nice condition as well, with the cards included. I was so happy to get hold of this. And then you get to the mail order section, and the prices will make you cry. There we go, look, so they haven't got the box set for sale at this point because it was about to launch the new edition. But let's see, you've got Glade Rider Hornblower £3, Glade Riders 4 for £10. That's actually about the same as what if you were to buy them today. I think it's 8 for 20, something like that. So that's not too bad. Chaos Dwarves, very cheap, £1.75 each. Let's have a look at Warhammer Quest. That was 40 quid. Expansions were 20 and the heroes were £7. Space Hulk £40. 40k £40. The codexes were £12 each. Khan the Betrayer was a £5. Yeah, so it was all very cheap back in the day. And at the back you always had these little kind of catalogue pages. Excuse me, little catalogue pages where you could actually see all the parts that went into a model and order the parts separately as well. So if you wanted to do a conversion and put his head onto him, you could order just those parts and take your saw to the model and do all that. And that was a really cool little thing that you could just order up the individual pieces that you wanted. Obviously with all kits these days coming on plastic sprue, it's not something that they can really do, but it was very cool. And then we've got the original plastic Nurgle Space Marine and the Khorne Berserker. Space Marines, Chaos Dwarves, Orcs, Hobgoblins, Dwarves, and Wood Elves. Orion at the back so you can see the parts he came in. And the latest codex that had just come out was Chaos, because even back then they'd release a new codex shortly before a new edition. But yeah, so that's it. That was my first ever White Dwarf that I ever bought, and it's still a lovely read even today. Very chunky magazine, just like the current incarnation. Probably a little bit more to read and a little bit more content in here than the current incarnation, but the current version also has your newest up-to-date stuff and much nicer photography. So you win some, you lose some. I would love to see the card section come back though, that would be absolutely amazing. Yeah, so anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little look at this White Dwarf, and post down in the comments down below what your first White Dwarf was, if you remember, and any memories you have of it, or if you've still got your first ever White Dwarf, do a video and send a link over to us, and that'd be really cool to see. Thanks for watching, bye.